Welcome, Dem Go Bucks. An NC or not NCAA, but an actual Michigan insider, Chris Ballas, says no hammer coming. And my gosh, Matt, I think that Buckeyes are probably going to have the biggest case of maize and blue balls that they've probably ever had. I don't know. What do you think about all this?
I think basically it's sort of the opposite of whatever the Michigan insiders say seems to be true over the years. Like they've been wrong on everything that's been happening with the Michigan scandal since day one, and I mean I didn't see anyone saying that even there would be any even suspension for Sharon Moore, and the fact that Michigan is already trying to throw in a couple days or a couple games conveniently picking the two, like not at the start of the season or like the end, just like two like really easy games that they just want to have them miss, like where it's not going to hurt too much. Not that Oklahoma game at the beginning. So I thought that was funny. There's no way they're going to let him just pick which games he's going to miss. And
Oh, they can pick the games. No big deal.
but if it's just two games, you guys should be happy anyway, because I mean, I still think it's going to be significantly worse than that. I'm hearing that basically the answer is going to be we're going to find out basically in June. Probably like the middle of June is when everything happens, and then from there it just depends if Michigan is going to appeal or not. I don't really know if there's a whole lot that Michigan can do with appeal other than try to postpone the punishment a little bit longer. The only problem is by the time the actual appeal, let's say, were to happen, at that point, I think they would end up just dropping the appeal if they just want to drag it out longer, because they're not going to want to have discovery, and then you would have to actually give more information out that they don't want to have to do.
Well, in that case, though, that the NCAA would actually have to make a case that they'd have to validate that this 11.6 rule in the NCAA rule book was actually enough that you would want to give like the hammer. I mean, the hammer, me anyway, is vacating wins and it's postseason ban. I think that's what everyone thinks. I think if Michigan just gets a massive fine and they lose some scholarships, that's everyone. Michigan fans would be happy with that. I think Buckeyes would probably go crazy. But I mean, have you heard that the NC, because we call them the cheaters up north now, like, has anyone said that was cheating? Has the NCAA come out and said that was a cheating advantage that Michigan gained by that? Because if Michigan had, let's say, or Connor Stallions rather, had gone out and somehow stolen the playbook from Ohio State or gotten video of practices, now that would be a cheating advantage, right? Who says that Michigan actually cheated? I mean, I need to hear someone of authority in the NCAA actually say Michigan cheated in order to get hand down that kind of like punishment. You know what I mean?
Well, so the interesting thing is, I think Michigan only admitted to like what was that? Was it 4 or like 6 instances of the advanced scouting, because they're trying to deny like the other 72 or whatever it was. Like it was a lot. Like there was a significant number that the NCAA is citing, and Michigan is only admitting to a few of them. I'm not sure what their reasoning is for saying that the other ones don't count, because he's giving them to someone else to do. So they're trying to act like, just because he's giving someone else the camera in the seats and having
his mom with an iPhone 11 video record the other team.
Yeah, I mean,
we're going to say that's a cheating advantage.
You can't, because you can't see that on the Elite 11. Doesn't show all the signs. You can see a couple plays, and you can see like some of the signs, but you can't see everything like you can with that.
Yeah, but the rule was made because a lot of other schools can't afford to send scouts. It's not. They didn't say in 11.6 that statute. They didn't say this is happening because we think this would be a cheating advantage for a team to do this. I mean, I know you make fun whenever I bring up Baylor, which was I don't want anyone to think that I'm comparing Baylor's one game where the assistant coach went to the Tulsa sideline and watched Oklahoma play to what basically to what Michigan did. Michigan's was much worse. it was a lot more extended. There was a lot more. I guess there was a lot more instances of it, but there was like a purpose behind it. Also, Michigan Connor Stallions used digital equipment, which was another no-no. But at the same time, with the Baylor situation, that was an assistant coach, first of all, that actually went to the Tulsa sideline and someone saw him, and he only got docked like a half a game. So it's really difficult for me to.
I mean, everyone involved
say,
in this Michigan thing got fired, though. Like, I mean, they were firing
well,
people
yeah,
left and right.
That's exactly my point.
So why would
like,
they be
Connor
firing all these
Stallions
people
got
if it was
fired
just like
for what
this
he
minor
did.
thing?
Well,
but you're saying this is minor
because it was
thing.
a
So
lot.
why is he getting fired?
Well, no, I'm saying it was kind of a minor thing what the assistant coach at Baylor did. That, and also that was Art Briles' son-in-law and play caller.
Was it?
Yeah. And Art Briles said, I had no idea my son-in-law and my daughter, his son-in-law, who was assistant coach, and his daughter were on the sideline at Tulsa. And Art Briles said, I had no clue. Had no idea that was happening. And then Art Briles went on to say that, by the way, this is not a cheating advantage because we have the all-22 film. Now, I know you make the case that you can see more than all the all-22 film, but
yeah, you can't see all the signs.
How do you, like, even if it was one instance of that assistant coach being on the sidelines at Tulsa, he got a half a game. He got docked a half a game. That was his only punishment, and that was handed down from the Big 12. Wasn't handed down from the NCAA. NCAA actually didn't give any punishment whatsoever to Baylor. They didn't punish the head coach, Art Briles. They, bought that bullshit that Art Briles had no idea who his son-in-law and play caller were actually going to be on the sideline at Tulsa. Well, they didn't buy that for Harbaugh. I mean, the Big Ten came in and gave Harbaugh a 3-game suspension, and Michigan fired Connor Stallions.
Harbaugh's suspension was also based on a sportsmanship rule in the Big Ten.
Sure. It was a punishment.
Rule.
It was a punishment. I don't even know what the rule they used for in the Big 12 was, but here's my point. Like, how do you take the leap from a half a game suspension for an assistant coach who should have known better versus, okay, Connor Stallions, he's a low-level staffer. What he did was much worse, but it was still the same statute 11.6 that was I guess that was the offense essentially. How do you jump from a half a game suspension to like 2 seasons of postseason ban? How do you jump from that and vacating wins? Why didn't Baylor have to vacate a win if that was a cheating advantage? So are you seeing my point of just like major leap?
I'm going to explain. So there's two right. There's 2 things here. So there's all of the incidences, and so what is it like 36 or 38 games worth, and
52. I think.
52. How is there that many?
Maybe it was less.
I thought it was 2.5 years.
The number is 52 games because Connor went himself, and then he had his network.
Oh, so it wasn't just the Michigan games. It was all the different opponent games that he went to, or something.
Yeah, like Connor would like pay people,
and he was also going to people that they might. I know there was some sort of shenanigans going on with Tennessee too, because they thought that Tennessee was going to be one of their opponents, and they were undefeated at the time. So they helped one of Tennessee's opponents that year also.
There's actually a guy, and I wish I could remember his YouTube channel, but he's a Tennessee guy, and he does Connor Stallion stuff all the time. He is super, super angry about that game because I think South Carolina scored like 9 touchdowns in that game against Tennessee, and he thinks like all those touchdowns were due to Connor Stallions sending over information, which is absolutely hilarious. Like,
but anyway, I was saying
he cannot blame Connor Stallions for them letting South Carolina score 9 touchdowns on them. Come on.
So in addition to that, though, the other thing is because they already have the probation from all these other incidences that they are in trouble for. Now that they're on probation, even minor things that you do, even if they're not, I mean, there was 6 or 7 level 1 violations, and then multiple 2s and everything else. Like, I think Sharon Moore only got a level 2 violation for deleting the text messages. But when you're doing a level 2 violation when you're on probation already, and then you have all these other level 1 violations for the school while they're on probation. That's why you potentially get into the realm of lack of institutional control.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely see like it, Sharon Moore probably.
And they like
It's
to make an
fine if
example out of Harbaugh.
he did delete he did delete the text. So if you're gonna
Yeah,
say, okay, you need to pay the piper for that, whatever that
yeah.
is, that's fine. I mean, a couple game suspension. He shouldn't have done that. That was dumb. But I don't think that I would be totally happy if that was all we got.
Yeah.
And I mean, we already did get dinged pretty hard. We got.
You know
I
what would
mean,
be the more interesting thing?
can you imagine
What?
if Sharon would have lost one of those games to Ohio State or Penn State?
Yeah,
I mean, the talk after that
it
would
would
have
have been.
been just
Yeah.
awful. And they didn't. And then, I mean, I totally get it. But here's like question for you, like just the way Michigan's behaving as far as like getting Bryce Underwood to commit, getting a brand new, pretty high level actual offensive coordinator in Chip Lindsey to come and run the offense. I mean, the
Where's he
way they're
from?
operating is he came from North Carolina, and he was the offensive coordinator at North Carolina. And so getting him to come there, it just seems like they would have had to, if Michigan was afraid they were going to get like a postseason ban or 2 years or whatever we think. Like I guess whatever the worst might happen. I don't think they care about vacating wins. That's pretty dumb. I don't think that's going to happen either. But like it just seems like they've been able to really feed those guys a line of BS and say, hey, we don't think that anything's going to affect your future when you come here. Bryce Underwood, all those recruits. Michigan got 2 5-star offensive tackle recruits in the last lineup, in the last recruiting season. So, I mean, if Michigan thinks like they're going to get postseason bans, they sure are like screwing over a lot of people, right? I mean, just the way they're operating makes it seem like they don't think they're getting that.
That's why I was thinking that initially, but then lately there's been some more issues going on, like the fact that your president left for a lesser job at Florida. That's very, like he just got a promote. Like, didn't he just get an extension or something like like a few months ago? And now he's taking less money to go
I'm
take
not
a
sure if
job
he
at
got an
Florida.
extension. I don't think the Michigan insiders,
I'm pretty
I
sure he
mean,
did.
I know, like I don't think they're saying that there was more politics involved than just like him
Then why
leaving.
was he given an extension?
I don't know. I'll have to look up the extension thing if that's true. It is. I think that is also kind of strange. He
I
is
mean,
taking a heck of a lot more money at Florida. Apparently, his salary is getting a huge boost. And supposedly, like, so I think it was Isaiah Hold. I don't know if you ever seen or heard of
yeah.
that guy. He was saying something like he just didn't get along with the Regents. The Regents like basically thought he was in over his head. He came from like some small schools. He's never been a part of like running a huge institution like a Michigan. And they think that it was just some of the decisions he made where he was just in over his head. But the timing looks really suspicious.
Timing is the main thing, and then all the other people leaving with Harbaugh. I mean, everyone left. They either left or they were fired.
But they took.
I mean, Moore is the only one left.
They got promotions though. It wasn't like they all.
Well, no,
left
some of them went to work for Harbaugh. Some of them got promotions, and then others also, like, who was it? Shoelace, didn't he? He's like completely been black holed. Like, what happened to him?
Shoelace had a nasty DUI issue and got fired.
So I thought that, and then is it
but no,
Mike Hart too?
There were Mike Hart. I'm still not 100% sure what happened with Mike Hart. It's been a while, so I have to go back and look at that. But there were, I don't think those two guys. I mean, there were most of the guys like, the defensive coordinator went with Harbaugh, and so I don't know. I don't think that I don't think that's the issue per se. I guess I would say, and I guess, what do you think about Chris Ballas actually saying he's an insider saying, those two, the postseason bans and vacating wins, are off the table. I don't know what the context he was talking about when he said that. It's like, was he say, like, whoever told him that, were they saying it's off the table for Michigan, or is it actually off the table for the NCAA? You know what I
Well,
mean?
he has a really bad track record, so I would be a little concerned if he's saying anything, because I would be more concerned if he was saying that Michigan is going to get in trouble, because then I would be worried that it would be wrong, because he's been wrong about everything.
Well,
and the other thing that I found actually really interesting is there's certain broadcasters that are big time in sports for college football that were pretty much either saying that this Michigan scandal was not a big deal or trying to minimize it throughout this whole time. And that would be Joel Klatt and Pate as well. And both of them recently, in the last week or something, have both come around and now are saying that this is a serious thing, and they think that something bad is going to happen and they should be punished. And they both have done a complete 180. And I just think it's weird that these two guys, Josh Pate, Joel Klatt, that have been defenders of Michigan and defenders of saying that they don't think that anything should or will happen to them, and then all of a sudden, why now? Like, they have to be hearing something for them to be changing their tune so quickly.
Yeah, and you know what? Through all this, I have no idea what's going to happen. I mean, if anyone says they do, unless they're like part of the institution, it's difficult to get a read on it, because obviously you've got like sites like the Buckeye Scoop that absolutely they put out a video about the hammer coming down like twice a week, and then you have Chris Ballas saying postseason bans, vacating wins are off the table. Like, one of them's wrong. Like, one of them is way off, right?
I mean, my prediction is still that I don't necessarily think you're going to lose the national title. That would have to be crazy for that to happen. But I do think that I could see them losing 2.5 years of games potentially, or at least 1 year games. And then, but like, if you're going to lose any games, wouldn't it have to be like all the games that Science did? So either you're going to get those forfeited or you're not going to get any forfeited, right? It has to be all or nothing, doesn't it?
I mean, I would imagine probably. I mean, it would be
like what rationale could you say, like, he was doing this illegal advanced scouting, so either we're going to punish via vacating wins or we're not. But so you either have to lose 2.5 years of games or you don't lose any. And then the bigger issue, I guess, for most Michigan fans is going to be the postseason. Like, and I could see, if it's just a 1 year, if it's just a 1 year postseason ban, I don't think it's a big deal, because it's unlikely that Michigan's going to make it this year anyway, especially with a freshman quarterback. I mean, it's possible, but still, like, I would be pretty happy if I was a Michigan fan if they were only banned 1 year.
No, I would be scorched earth on the entire Michigan institution.
Because you guys are going to be missing out this year.
Well,
odds of you making the playoffs. You guys are
Michigan's got an easy
to win
schedule.
7.5 or 8 wins this year. It's like
Michigan's got an easy schedule, a great defense, probably great special teams, got a great kicker. I don't know how the quarterback position is going to turn out, but it's going to be better than it was last year.
Vegas does not think Michigan is going to do anything this year.
Well, here, I would be scorched earth on Michigan if Michigan gets a bowl ban, because they could have done that last year. Like, and they were so terrible last year.
Yeah, so this would have been basically like what happened to Ohio State in 2012 when Urban Meyer first came there. We lost the national title because Gene Smith didn't give us a bowl ban in 2011, and instead we got to play it at 6-6. We got to play a Florida team and then not even win. So I mean, it's just a completely stupid thing that they wouldn't do a bowl ban that year.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, man. Like, yeah. Like, be smarter than that. Be smarter than Gene Smith. Like, they should at least learn from history, right?
Yeah.
That's a great point.
Yeah, why not self-impose a bowl ban when you're I mean, granted, you guys did have a bowl win, so maybe I mean, that was a pretty good win for you guys.
Yeah, but they didn't know that was going to happen.
Yeah.
And you know
but
what?
Still, ultimately, it was not important. in the grand scheme of things.
That's another thing, like just how Michigan's been going about its business since, like that with Bryce Underwood, the new offensive coordinator. They went to a bowl last year. They're really operating in a way that you would think that they don't think they're going to get any postseason bans, because if they did, that would be incredibly incompetent, what they've been doing.
Did you hear about an issue with money for your quarterback? There was like something going on like the last
I
week.
saw something, but it didn't seem credible. Like it was more like headline stuff on sites that are usually just clickbait. But no, what's the deal? Did you hear something?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't followed up. I haven't heard any continual coverage on it, so I'm assuming it must have been BS. If or maybe they were, people were reporting they were having money problems, or the contract wasn't as good as what he was saying. He was wanting more money, or not one. I mean, he was wanting what he was supposed to be paid, and he wasn't getting it. So,
really,
maybe the NIL came around and finally got him the money. I'm not sure. I'll have to check and see if there's any updates on that. But that was the rumor.
Interesting. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know that. I mean, I'm looking at it. I need to see the NCAA actually say that what Connor Stallions did was cheating, like outright cheating, because they would have to, right? Like if you're going to level,
that's in the report. The report says it.
I don't know that did it actually use the words cheating?
I mean, violation of the rule.
Violation of the rule, but people don't have to vacate wins if you violate.
For lack of institutional control, they do.
Well, but usually that's around when a student is ineligible. Like if you get an illegal tattoo, then of course you vacate wins because you were ineligible in those games that you played. But that, I don't know, as the NCAA, I've never even heard of any other reason why you vacate wins besides eligibility.
Well, this is never.
They're saying
something like this has never happened
playing,
before,
and he did. But what are you gonna? How are you gonna make the leap to do that for Connor Stallions if you can't even come out and say that is 100% cheating what he did? I mean, any violation of the rule, recruiting violations. If you tamper and you actually get a guy to come to your school when he hadn't, you could say that's cheating, and that you.
Yeah, I mean, I personally think the tampering stuff is worse. Like when you have a player that's already on a team, for instance, like Addison was on. Yeah. Was he on Purdue or something? And USC paid him to come there, and then he wins the Blitnikoff Award. And I was always salty about that. I knew that not because we were supposed to get him or anything. I just thought that the way that was done was really shady. And ever since then, college football has just been the wild, wild west as far as recruiting goes. And they need to have something a little bit better as far as the contracts and everything. Like if we could just start getting, like in the NFL, it's you have your rookie contract, so you're set for 4 years or whatever, and then after that you can sign a couple of years here or there. But for college, you think you would be able to get something in place where everyone is getting a contract, but they also need to change it, because paying people to come to a school shouldn't be illegal either, and that's what everyone is doing. Like I don't know how you get around that part though. Like, how do you think you could prevent, someone from paying people to come to their school, like from high schools specifically? How do you stop that? Like, what law could you place to stop that?
I don't know what you'd be able to do with that. I mean, they would actually have to enforce it. That's the thing. And
I mean, I think also like the thing.
Did you see what? Hold on. Did you see what Brian just posted here? Is that how many days since Ohio State's beaten Michigan?
Well, I'm counting the 2000 game as a win because you guys forfeited.
Is it 2,000 days officially today? Oh my gosh, if that's true. Like, I'm seeing one on Reddit. And
no, it wouldn't be 2,000 days.
On May 4th,
it's only been 4 years.
1,980 days.
Yeah.
Wow, it is. It is. It's been 2,000 days. That's a long time. That's awesome. Thanks, Brian. I didn't realize that.
Do you want to get into the defense a little bit before we head out?
Yeah, I would. Absolutely. Let's jump into that. Yeah, we last time, the last video we did, which was, we haven't done one in way long, but we went over the secondary. So go check that video out if you haven't seen it. But let's pull up the linebackers, because that's the next position group we're going to take a look at here. So we've got the linebackers up here for Ohio State and Michigan. And the goal, like basically what we're doing here is we're looking at each team's position group at linebacker, and we're just going to make a determination at the end which one has the advantage. Of course, we're only basing this on what we know today, which would be what happened last year, what we know about these guys, because if you've got new starters, you don't really know. But yeah, let's get into this. So Matt, let's have you start on Ohio State. What are your thoughts on the linebackers? I know you've got Sonny Styles back, and Arvell Reese had a lot of people said great things about him, and he should have been starting last year at some point. But yeah, I'm sure they're going to be good. But what are your thoughts?
Well, first I want to give like an overall picture. Like I think offensively we're bringing back a ton of talent, whether it's either starters from our own team or from other schools from the portal. And really, the only question mark on the whole offense is quarterback. And Julian Sand was the number one quarterback in his class. So, but there's very few quarterbacks that have won a title as a freshman. I mean, he's a sophomore. I mean, so it's his second year, but he didn't really play hardly at all last year. So this is like his first meaningful time playing, and that's like the only real issue. But he has so much talent around him that as long as he's above average, our team should be really good. So to me, like the only real questions are on defense, and
How many really have any concern. You lose how many on defense? I think it's all 4 defensive linemen, which we'll get into in a later video.
Yeah.
But then you've got for linebackers, you lost Cody Simon.
Yeah, Cody Simon was really good. And I was going to say, like, in a lot of our national title winning teams, we always seem to have really good linebackers. And so I think Sonny has been a stud, and he's an athletic freak, and he's really coming on the second half of last year. So I think he's going to probably be one of the top linebackers in the country, and I think he has a chance to go in the first round. As we were just talking before the show, linebackers generally aren't going in the first round anymore unless you're an absolute freak. And this last draft, there was one linebacker in the middle of the draft, and then one like pick 31. So most years you're only getting 1 or 2 linebackers in the first round, but he has the athletic ability and freakiness to definitely sneak into at least in the bottom of the first. And he's super reliable, and with the way defenses are in most of our games, unless we're playing Wisconsin or Michigan, you generally only are going to be using 2 linebackers. So Arvell Reese is also a guy who, was playing in a lot of his earlier games where he was getting heavy playing time early in the season. People thought he was going to take one of the starting jobs because he was playing so well. And he was actually, I think, outplaying Cody Simon earlier in the year. I don't know if Simon was a little bit banged up early on, but at a certain point, like after 4 or 5 games, Cody Simon just turned into an absolute like machine and was just one of the best players on the defense the rest of the way. And so Reese didn't really get to play too much after that because of how good Simon was playing. But everyone has been really high on Reese as well. And then of course we have, Pettijohn, who's, a lot of recruiting sites have him as, the number 2 linebacker in the country in this recruiting class. So he is, stud linebacker coming in from Texas.
What was the last 5-star linebacker you had? Didn't he make the position switch?
Oh yeah. He's a defensive end now. And
5-star linebackers at Ohio State don't generally do very well.
Yeah, but we have a new linebacker coach starting, from last year, and he's been actually getting some really good recruits too. And I think he's making a big difference. Like our position group coaches are just really top notch, along every area. The only thing that I'm worried about really is just Larry Johnson being old, and he's not nearly as good a recruiter as he used to be. I think part of it is just people have been negative recruiting him the last couple of years, saying he's going to retire because he's been around for a while now. And I think there was I think a quote even from his own son, like maybe 2 or 3 years ago, saying that he was probably going to be retiring soon. So that probably hasn't helped. But I think he's still he's still going. He's gonna got a couple of good players. I think 2 years ago, and this last year got some a decent class, but not great. So it seems like it's the one defensive line has been like the one area I think really on the whole team. I feel like we're not getting the huge 5 stars. I mean, we get a little bit at offensive line. I would say that's probably the second biggest
Not even
concern.
an offensive.
But
Not an
we're
offensive
still
line.
like with the new guy, we're recruiting more top talent at offensive line than we have in years. Like we're actually putting out lots of offers to offensive linemen and getting at least a bunch of high 4 stars. But like defensive line, especially defensive tackle, has been my biggest concern. And we had 2 unbelievable ones last year. So I mean, really, the
Ohio
only
State.
area.
Ohio State gets all the gets none of the meaty positions. Like you always get like the high level like skill positions, but like
Well, defensive ends,
the D
we have a
line,
lot
the
of defensive
offensive
ends,
line, not so
but
much.
not defensive tackles. I mean, we have like, we had one defensive tackle who was a first rounder, and then the other one was, I think, a third rounder.
Yeah,
So,
that is true. What's his name? The guy
I
that went
mean, both
to the
both
Lions.
defensive tackles were great. And they both went ahead of our defensive ends too. So like that was surprising.
I don't
But
even remember what they were ranked recruiting wise, though. The defense. Sorry, we need to get back to the linebackers. Damn it.
yeah. But anyway, going back to
Sonny Styles.
linebacker.
What
Yeah.
about Sonny Styles? Like he's like he seems like a really good player, but he like makes like, and this ruins my view of him. Like he makes like one real boneheaded mistake, like in the Michigan game, the last two games, the last 2 years, and it's kind of like made me not like him as much. I mean, as a player, I mean, I like the result of that, obviously, but it seems like Sonny has like some screw up potential and some big games. But
Yeah. I mean, he
he
played
played
really
really
well
good
in
in
the
the playoffs.
playoffs. Yeah.
Yeah, he did.
So, like I said, I'm not concerned at all about that. Like the only real concern I would have with him would be if our defensive tackles aren't that great, mostly with depth, really, because I think our 2 starters will be fine at defensive tackle. It's just when you have those really big guys at defensive tackle, they aren't always, especially if they're new starters. We don't know if they have the endurance to be able to play, every down. So I have very low confidence on our backups at defensive tackle. So if they have to play a lot, uh, you know, I don't think that they're that great. And
Yeah,
if you don't have good defensive tackles in the middle, 50% of the time, let's say, then the linebackers are going to be getting blocked a lot. So I would
that's
say,
interesting.
luckily, we don't have a lot of, crazy running teams that we're playing this year, aside from Texas, Penn State, Michigan, and maybe Oregon. But
Yeah, but I think the biggest issue is going to be Michigan again, just because of the way they play.
well, Penn
Um,
State has 2 amazing
Penn
running
State,
backs, so
but I won't believe that Penn State's going to use their running backs the way they should until I actually see them do it. It seems like Penn State always wants to focus their offense around the quarterback, and they've got those 2 awesome running backs, and of course they're good. They make plays during the games, but they always seem to focus on Drew Aller and trying to
yeah,
make him the focal point of the offense when they've got those 2 stud running backs. But granted, not every team is going to line up the way Michigan does. Most teams have the type of offense. They've got this modern day offense that they've got, and modern day offensive coordinators that just don't run the ball the way Michigan does, and that's probably an issue. I think those guys are definitely going to be a challenge. I think that Texas, yes, they're going to have a really great running back. That might I forgot that they've got the one dude coming back from
yeah,
injury, that super stud. So that'll be interesting. I think that'll be an issue for these linebackers for Ohio State. But I don't know. Penn State, Texas, and Michigan. You're probably right. Those 3 teams.
yeah. I mean, I don't think that I'm not like super worried about Penn State. Everyone seems to think that they're going to be the number 1 or 2 team this year, just because they're returning their quarterback and running backs. I mean, they lost Abdul Carter and they lost their tight end, who was the first. So they lost 2 first rounders, one at tight end and one at defensive end, 2 top 11 picks. And, they have a transfer wide receiver that's supposed to be pretty good. So they finally have at least one receiver on the roster that's decent. But I don't think that's enough to make this offense a world beater. I mean, I don't know. I wasn't even that impressed with them last year. Like Ohio State.
Yeah, they returned their quarterback and their running backs last year too.
Yeah, we should have blown them out. And if Will Howard didn't fumble when he was going in for a touchdown towards in the third quarter, that would have blown the game open. So that fluke fumble was the only reason it was even close.
And his pick six made it close.
I just didn't feel that it was that. I don't know. I just didn't think that their offense looked that great. I don't know.
Yeah, very true. All right. Well, let's get to Michigan's linebackers. So I don't know how much you know about these guys. Jayshon Barham.
Barham was good. I remember seeing him for Maryland.
Kid from Maryland. Real good. He was good last year. Ernest Hausman was really good last year too. They started out shaky though last year. It was their first year starting. They played. Ernest Hausman played a lot last year, but just not as a starter. So it always seems like when a guy might flash as a backup, and you're thinking, oh, they're going to be super awesome, and then it takes them sometimes it just takes them half of the year to learn how to be a starter. So both of these, the good news, both of these guys are coming back. They were both started all year long last year, and they were awesome. They finished out the year fantastic against Northwestern, Ohio State, and Alabama. So I think those 2 guys are going to be superstars. I don't know what they're going to be in the upcoming draft. I think they've got a lot. Excuse me. I think they've got a lot to prove this year as far as their draft grade. But man, I really love what we got coming back there in the middle there. I don't know. What do you think? As far as comparing these 2 position groups and saying right now at this point in time, what we know about the teams now, what these position groups now, how do you make a determination? And I'm obviously biased towards Michigan, but I'm probably picking Michigan in this one. And the secondary, last time we talked about the secondary, I picked Ohio State because I think Ohio State just has more studs. Specifically, what's his name at safety? Caleb. Is escaping Caleb Downs. He was he was the guy that really turned it. It's just got to give it to Ohio State. But in this case, linebacker, I'm probably giving it to Michigan only because we've got 2 returning starters. We know exactly what we're getting, and Ohio State has Arvell Reese, who of course flashed last year, but we just don't know how he's going to do as a full-time starter. So and then you make a great point about the actual defensive line actually affecting.
Michigan has the same problem though. They lost both defensive tackles too.
Yeah, and I'm sure we'll talk more about the defense. Next year or on maybe in the next video. Actually, we'll talk about defense. But Michigan, we got to see this year's Michigan's defensive line against Alabama because we had 3 guys sit out on the defensive line against Alabama. We had Mason Graham, Kenneth Grant, and why can't I remember the defensive end's name?
Stewart?
But what's that?
Was it Stewart?
No.
Defensive end?
No, or maybe I don't know. I'm having name recognition issues. But in any case, we had three guys sit out because they were going in the draft, basically.
But did Bama have any offensive linemen sitting out?
Bama? No, they didn't. They had that superstar guy we were talking about before we came on.
The left tackle.
Left tackle. More name recognition issues. But yeah, I mean, Michigan owned those guys. The defensive tackles were awesome. Like in that game, they really manhandled Alabama's offensive line. So I'm thinking, and right now Michigan is considering that a strength, their defensive line. So if you're taking into consideration kind of what you were saying as far as the defensive line, being worried about that on the Ohio State side, and you're breaking in a new starter, I'm definitely saying Michigan's got the upper hand on this one. I didn't think so with the secondary, but I think Michigan does in the linebacker. What do you think?
Yeah, I would say to start the year, Michigan definitely has the advantage with the experience. But It just depends by the time we actually play each other, is Reese going to be better? I mean, he has more upside potentially, but at the beginning of the year, Michigan definitely is starting with the more reliable linebacker duo.
Yeah, that's what it is too. I mean, none of those guys. We'll see. Arvell Reese might be a superstar. I mean, we don't know. Sonny Styles might just like get rid of all the like screw up mentality that he's had in the past. We don't know. So, but yeah, you're right. I think just like at this point in time, Michigan probably has the advantage, but we'll see. That'll be awesome. You agree?
Yeah,
we agree.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! I thought it was going to get some shit.
Let's cut the video now, and we'll talk about defensive line. How about for the next episode? Maybe later this week.
Yeah, that'll be awesome. Yeah, maybe later this week we'll talk about that. But yeah, thanks everyone. Greatly appreciate you tuning in. Please like and subscribe, and we will talk to you all later. Have a good one, Matt.
Don't forget, Michigan cheated.
No, go blue.